The final of World's Strongest Man is underway, and we are taking a look at day number 1, event number 1, the shield carry. Right, it wasn't meant to be the shield to kick things off, but they are having rain issues over in America right now. Well, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Here, obviously, America's a huge country. And they were going to start with the Fingal's Fingers, but Fingal's Fingers are very dangerous in the rain. So the judges have decided to change up the order, hoping that the weather improves as the day goes on. So they are starting with the shield carry. Event number 2 will be the deadlift, and they are hoping to do the Fingal's Fingers later on when things dry up.
So the shield carry is a max distance event, and it weighs 196 kilos, the new rain shield, and the athletes have to carry it 20 meters there, 20 meters back, as many times as possible. There is no time limit for this event, but they were told they are not allowed to dither on the pickup. They had to go as soon as they were able to make it a nice fair race.
Okay, so who was the first heat for this event?
First up was an interesting combination of Matthew Ragg and Brian Shaw, no less.
I was surprised to see Brian Shaw out in the first heat. And although Brian beat Matt Ragg, his distance wasn't amazing. He was just shy of the second length. So what was his distance officially?
His distance was 39.1 metres in total, with Matt Ragg doing 37.65. We always knew that this would be Brian's worst event in the final, didn't we?
Suspected, definitely. It's been a long time since we've seen Brian do an event like this, and it tends to be one of those events, as you age, you lose a little bit of that conditioning and fitness that you need for this type of event.
So the second pairing was Evan Singleton versus Luke Stoltman. Evan Singleton in his first World's Strongest Man final.
Nice to see.
We should mention, yes. And Evan beat Luke in that.
Yeah, both of these looked pretty solid. They proved that the first 2 distances weren't going to be that hard to beat for a lot of guys. Evan Singleton coming out on top against Luke Stoltman, but both going into first and second place, respectively, after 4 athletes. So Luke's distance was 44.62 metres, and Evan Singleton's distance was 48.3.
Now this next pairing was a real doozy. Tom Stoltman, current World's Strongest Man, versus Mitch Hooper, the Moose. And Mitch did not look good on this by about the end of the first length. He looked like he was struggling.
I think it was just after the first length, on his way back on the second, he looked like he was struggling. He had to readjust the shield.
Yeah.
And he was well behind Tom Stoltman at this distance. Tom was absolutely flying, looking very confident, very comfortable. Mitch was digging deep after 1 length.
Yeah.
And I was genuinely worried that he wasn't going to do a good distance. Tom Stoltman just kept going, went into the lead on this event. He looked across, he saw Mitch struggling. To me, it looked like Tom maybe just put this down.
It looked like that to me.
It looked like he had a bit more in the tank.
Look like
Tom's distance was 63.15.
Yeah.
And when Tom went down, Mitch saw. And Mitch just kept coming, and the shield was getting lower and lower, and he kept coming, and he started to overtake people.
Yeah.
And then he got past the 60-meter line, and he's almost going into a crab position where he's kind of like shuffling along, and he could see the distance, and he just dug deep, kept pushing. This is sheer determination, and he ended up going past Tom and went into the lead with 64.8 meters.
The next pairing was a real doozy as well.
This one was just crazy.
Yeah, so it was Trey Mitchell versus Pavlo Kordiyaka. Now, we knew this would be a good event for Pavlo. He's one of the fittest athletes in the lineup, and we've seen on things like the Conans, he's great at max distance carries, but Pavlo made a big mistake. You made a big mistake.
He really made a big mistake, and you know, he's been punished for it. He went the furthest distance out of anyone, but it looks like his foot didn't cross the line on potentially 1 or even 2 of these lengths.
No, it was 1 length, so it was the first time he hit the 20-meter length, and I've seen it now. I've been sent it from different angles. You can clearly see he doesn't cross the line. It wasn't, obviously, he wasn't trying to cheat the distance.
He's not that kind of person. Literally, he's up high, he's just digging deep.
Yeah,
but the athletes are told beforehand that if your foot does not cross the line, it won't count. Yeah. And they disqualified a whole distance.
A whole length.
20 metres was taken away from his distance. So rather than being in first place, which he would have, he's ended up slipping right back and only been given a distance of 46.59 metres. That is he's going to have to learn from it. I mean, people can say it's harsh, people can say it's the right thing to do. If the rules are set, I believe the rules have to be adhered to.
Of course, yeah.
If this was told to them in the athletes meeting, then that's the way it needs to be. So the reality is, big learning curve for him. He knows he could have won this event if it comes back again, but never make that mistake again.
He's never going to make that mistake again. Trey Mitchell, on the other hand, putting a solid and steady distance in with 50.8 metres.
Trey doing what Trey does.
Exactly.
He placed decently at the Rogue Invitational. Like we said, he's not necessarily built for this type of event, but Trey is a tough, determined athlete and always performs well. You know, he's always not talked about, but Trey's just a beast.
Yeah,
and
he is a beast.
Even at the events he's not great at, he still does good. So, good solid performance from Trey on this one. Then we went into our final pairing.
Yes, so this was Jaakko Schoonwinkel versus Alexei Novikov. Now, Jaakko, in the loading race in the heats, he was very good. And I know that the shield carry was another event. He was so looking forward to it, really plays on his strengths. And he went off the line fast when the whistle went. But unfortunately, it looked too fast considering the conditions, and he went down. He went absolutely flying with the shield.
I have a theory about this. I mean, we could say the weather was an issue, like it was, raining on these athletes. It wasn't the best conditions to do it in. But when you feel an event is like a really good event for you, in something like your first World's Strongest Man, you can almost put too much pressure on yourself to win it. And he looked like he just tried to go off like a bullet and ended up tripping over. And it is much better when you can get to that point where you're a well-rounded athlete and you can take some pressure off those banker events and be like, okay, top 3 is great because I'll get good points. Sometimes you think I've got to win to make up for maybe where I'll lose points in other events, and you do make mistakes. But unfortunate for Jaakko, you know, he would have wanted much better than this. Novikov, I think, will be happy. Novikov put in a distance of 55 metres, 55.87 to be exact, and he's got himself 8 points. 3rd place, great start. And when you look at this, the on-paper favourites, Mitch Hooper, Tom Stoltman, Alexei Novikov and Trey Mitchell, all in the top 4. The other guy that people are talking about, Brian Shaw, in 8th position. Now, it's not a great start for Brian, but that is his worst event out the way. The rest of the events are good for him, and for Brian Shaw fans, I'm very confident that he's going to start creeping up that table.
And also, Brian is such an experienced athlete. This won't affect him, I don't think. I think, you know, this is probably a worst case scenario in his mind.
Absolutely. He would have been looking at best case scenario, normal scenario and worst case. And this probably has been worst case. But like I said, 5 events to go, and they're 5 very good events for him. So he will still feel confident that there is time to get back into this competition. And with the high standard, he knows if he can win a few of these and athletes kind of get in between each other, he can quickly get those points back.
Absolutely.
But perfect start for Mitch Hooper. Great start for the current champion, Tom Stoltman, and Alexei Novikov will be pleased with 3rd place.
So now we're kind of playing it by ear, event by event. We're expecting the Kanak deadlift to be next, and then the fingers later on today. But we will just see, we will update you guys on our community page as we get that information through. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join us on the live weight parties, and we will see you on the next one. Stay strong.